was renting a little office space in town, kind of like what Shawn does. That's where you are now, right, Shawn?
Yeah.
That's a fake backdrop, Tommy. That's actually just a giant. He got that off of a local Target was going out of business. If he rolls that up right now, there's another one that happens to have. Yeah, and it has another backdrop, I think, of like the Laugh Factory, brick wall or whatever the hell it is, and another one
with a neon sign on it.
Oh my god! Now I want that. I want that so bad now.
Blurred out office window. But anyway, yeah. So you used to rent a space like Shawn's.
This is the Inkpulp podcast.
Oh, there we go. Everything is working. See, in the thing there, Tommy, you should start telling you percentages of upload. It'll catch up in a minute.
Hey.
Where does it say that?
Somewhere on your screen. Probably in the upper right. Upper middle, upper right.
Oh, yeah. 99%.
Yeah, there it is. Cool. We're going super fast. You know why? Non-spaghetti internet.
That's right.
Okay, so here we are. One more episode of the train that never stops going. Ladies and gentlemen, the Inkpulp podcast. We are now episode 192. I'm right on that one. I wrote it down.
You're 42 episodes off.
Like ahead or behind?
Ahead.
Oh, whatever. One something.
150. This is a
thank you for joining us once again. You know what? We've been getting a lot of positive feedback for these shows, and I suspect it's because we bring in really, really interesting guests.
Huh.
Anyway, speaking of non-interesting, Shawn, thank you for always having us on, always reaching out to the right people, and by right people I mean our interesting guest, Mr. Tommy Lee Edwards. Hello, Tommy.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Shawn.
Thanks for being here, dude.
I'm a long-time admirer, long-time listener.
First-time caller.
Yeah. But I have been on here before, but I don't think I've been on in this configuration with Eric, because I think the last time I came on was just Shawn and Mattteo and me.
Mattteo, yeah. Eric was traveling for work that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you look good, buddy. Every time I see you, it's an upgrade. The haircut suits you.
Oh, it's not like down past my shoulders anymore.
You know what? There is that hazy middle ground sometimes when you're growing things out or keeping things not it's pre-haircut, right? That's really super awkward.
Yeah. I like your
All right, speaking of super awkward, our co-host isn't here. The guy with the...
Where do you think Mattteo... Do you think he even knows we're doing this?
I don't think so. I think
sometimes, I don't know if it's just me, but he gets intimidated sometimes by me, I think.
By you?
It's you, Tommy.
Yeah.
He doesn't...
He's definitely not intimidated by us.
Yeah.
And we have battles of the studios. I watched an episode that you guys just did while you were at Matteo's in Italy.
Studio.
Yeah. You were unimpressed, right? You were like, I got a farm, dude. I got a shop in the back.
It was really boring, honestly, until you got to where you mentioned my studio, and then my ears went, huh? And then it's just like when I'm at work being sitting here, and I'm on a meeting, and people are doing like a sprint review or something. We're going over like how much work we did in the last couple of weeks on this game we're making and whatever, and then I just hear wah 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 wah, and then every once in a while I hear Tommy, and then I go, huh? And then I give them some direction.
Yeah, because you zoned out, all right.
Yeah, based on what I didn't hear just then, I just go, yeah, okay, cool. So,
they're like, Tommy keeps giving us direction. It makes no sense. It's as if he wasn't listening at all.
That contradicts everything that we just talked about for the past 45 minutes before we called on his name. That's actually two parts. That's one. That's like really great survival mechanism as far as like actively, passively listening. The other version, when you're listening to our podcast and your ears didn't pick up until we said your name, that's called narcissism. So welcome. Well, you're in the right podcast is what I'm getting at. Everybody here does it, I don't know if you saw in the last episode.
I immediately feel like I must be in trouble, though.
No, it comes from a place of admiration. Let's talk. Can we talk about these amazing pictures that you share with us when it comes to your garage. You have outside of the amazingness that is your artwork. We'll get to that soon. Oh, by the way, because of the way the algorithm works, is there something you want us to talk about ahead? Because right around now is probably the most prime when people are tuned in before they go like, I'm about 5 minutes out. I'm gonna click away now.
Interesting.
What are we talking about, Tommy? What do you want us to pay attention to?
Come on, Tommy.
I don't know. I mean,
just put him on the spot.
You're on the spot.
Sweat.
You know, it's funny. I've been posting more artwork on Instagram lately, and going back and like posting stuff that I've drawn in ink. You know, like
I saw that
from a few years ago. You know,
it looks good.
You know, like cool. Thanks. Like before Jupiter's Legacy, because that was all digital. You know, and I always go back and forth. In the past year, I've been making this video game and this comic called Exordium for this company Atmos, and I've been doing almost everything for them digitally, you know. So sometimes I used to have, where I'm sitting right now, I just reorganized my studio because I had a desk right here where I was doing paintings on, just like traditional, like I would do like commissions, more sketchy kind of paintings.
Yeah.
And I would do that while during like the meetings that I was supposed to be paying attention to. I'd be painting, and then I'd be and then I just be painting. No, I'm just kidding. I would never do
that. For the people who are following Tommy from that studio, he never does that, but in reality, probably he did that
all the time.
I only do it for when certain people are on the call and they know who they are.
Shawn.
Yeah, that's me.
So,
yeah, that's this podcast.
All right, so you have a new comic potentially that's tied into this video game that you're working on.
Yeah, it's called
Is that
Exordium.
On pause, or is it all?
No,
it's
actually the first 3 you can actually get on Amazon, Comixology, whatever.
Right on.
But it's drawn by Andrea Kuki. It's
Okay.
Andrea Kuki is the artist. I'm kind of more like the art director on that comic and kind of figuring out what everything looks like. I put together the team. I oversee it while I'm overseeing animation and the game and stuff to try and make sure it's all cohesive as much as possible. Yeah. And then so it's fun because I get to like Andrea sends me his layouts and then I go through it with him and talk about like how it could be even better. He's really good, and I think each book he gets better and better.
He is good.
Yeah, and in like the 4th issue is the best. I was just saying, each one is better than the last. So he's
dude. I remember. I hope you don't mind me saying it, but when we were all in Seattle together, I was there for a day before I had to fly back home. But your enthusiasm in showing me some of the development stuff that you had been doing, not just on the video game end, but also the comic book pages end. Your enthusiasm was like, whoa, I haven't seen you this hyped up, I don't think ever. You know what I mean? So that was really, really cool. And I think well warranted because based on what I saw, you know, not speaking poorly about the comic book artist, but just all your development stuff for it. Holy cow, dude. Good job. Well done.
Thanks. It's a little like not the typical way to do a comic sometimes. I mean, there's a little more... yeah, I think well, and I think it's I think I lucked out with Mattteo introduced me to Andrea, and Andrea, luckily he and I are kind of in sync as far as like the approach to the thing, and luckily Andrea likes me and my work, and so that goes a long way towards being able to put up with my what I hope is constructive critiques. And how to make this. It's all about storytelling, really. And same with the comic, same with the game, same with every single thing. Even everything we're designing for the game is like, well, what's its purpose? What does it do? Does it look cool? That's not enough. It needs to do something. You know, it needs to propel the story somehow. So there's nothing frivolous.
Proper world building.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I like that I can just do a sketch and hand it off to somebody else to finish it. That's pretty cool.
Again, that's a high level of hidden narcissism, but it's even better.
Or sometimes what I'll do is if they'll draw something and I'll have them send it to me, and then I'll sign it.
Yeah. That's the future right there.
Anyway, it's all
congratulations,
AI anyway.
pal. Congratulations, pal. I'm incredible.
Well, Tommy,
it's fun. I was really like tired of being by myself. So, and I got really burnt out in comics for a while, like being here in my cave. And so that's probably what you were reacting to when I saw you in Seattle, is kind of like
just that, like, oh my gosh, people.
Yeah. So sorry, Shawn, I cut you off.
People
there,
who use the same words that I do, art and drawing and painting.
Yeah.
Oh wait, let's not skip over the fully digital stuff that you're doing. I know you're saying that it's been a while since you've done anything traditional, which I have a huge like crush on. I remember the last time that I saw you when you were actually working on something was this commission for Magnum PI that you were just toiling over that image while we
Is
were.
that
Where
done
were
yet,
we?
Tommy?
Were we in Orlando?
That was at MegaCon Orlando.
Over personally,
like
I thought you had
ago.
it. I thought you had it, and then I kept seeing it on your social media. I'm like, he is still banging away at this painting.
I wasn't really banging away. I was letting it sit there on this exact desk I was talking about as it stared at me while I was too focused on my day job.
Well,
so pretty much
it.
It's done. Yeah, I sent it off months ago.
All right.
But sometimes, commissions can be hard doing them at home because sometimes when you're at a convention, you're kind of forced to crank it out and kind of get it done. And then versus it sitting here and then, some time goes by, you see another thing that you're not crazy about. I mean, I almost like trashed that commission.
No.
I was like, I was this close to saying, what a piece of shit, and just throwing it in the garbage. But I find that almost every piece I do, it's like that end of the second act of your painting. And everything's getting so bad and everything you fought for is falling apart. And then you have to somehow try and push through to the beginning of the third act where you're going to have about, you're seeing the finish line. And it's usually I can remind myself of that and not give up hope. But sometimes you do have to throw it
Eric,
away.
do you go through that? Because that rings home. There's usually a point in every piece I'm doing when I'm about 70% done where I'm like, I think this has just gotten away from me. But I keep going and everything falls into place.
No, I'm good all the time, Shawn. There's no moment of like.
Yep.
There is no point in where I lack in confidence. I actually overcompensate for all of you guys and tell you how good you are at that critical bottom of the second act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I've seen you tear up a drawing and throw it in a trash can. So don't. You're
an inspiration to me, Tommy. I don't say that very lightly. I've been following your work for a while, and to actually see those paintings in real life. Number one, inspirational. Number two, humbling. And number three, it just goes to show how poor I am because I can afford 0% of it. While we're here, let's talk about where you can buy some of Tommy's artwork. If you're interested, please go to essentialsequential.com. He already talked about his new comic book being available on Amazon. Go get that immediately. I think it's on, where is it? We're going to put it in the description. But more importantly, go buy an original from Tommy. Tommy, are you doing any more conventions this year? Are you making a stop anywhere?
I'm probably going to do New York. I've signed up for it. I've booked a room. I'm probably going to go.
When are you getting in, Tommy, to New York? When are you getting
let's
in?
tell all of your guys' stalkers exactly. Tell them what flight you're on.
When are you leaving?
I think I'm going to leave on Monday. I don't think I'm going to leave on Tuesday. I know it would be fun to stay an extra day, but
yeah, we're doing that.
I'm sort of I'm kind of like, because I decided I'm going to go to Japan at the end of November.
Nice.
Right, you told me that.
It's just for fun. With Zach Rosenberg and maybe Ramon if he can finally decide. I know he wants to. It's obviously for any of us it would be a huge expense and of time and money. Yeah. So I have a lot of like points saved up for flights and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of is working out a little, like okay, and the prices of things weren't so bad, and I've kind of gotten to the point where if I don't have to go to a convention to pay for the trip, obviously it would help, but I'd rather go enjoy the city or the town or the country or whatever than sit at a convention and
Totally.
draw and
Valid
work.
point.
You know? So,
I was going to suggest. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I was just going to say.
I gotta go. You guys are gonna be fine by yourselves. I gotta go. You guys are just bouncing off of each other like ping pong balls. Let me not miss the opportunity to say, Tommy had said, like, you know, you had to kind of like plan and make sure that everything was affordable. I don't want to miss the opportunity in representing Mattteo, who's not here still. We are 15 minutes into this
I've
podcast,
texted
but
him.
whatever, that's on him. But I don't want to miss the opportunity to misrepresent him. If he had heard that, he would say, I don't have to plan. I don't need points. I'm actually Matteo's glare, and I've gotten by on being popular and being brighter than the sun. That's total. That's how his ego.
That's Mattteo. In fact, Tommy, I mean, I don't want you to get too offended, but you know why Matteo's not here. It's you.
Yeah.
It's he wouldn't come on because of you.
I don't know if that was a sigh of disappointment or like, yeah, to be expected on brand.
I think it was
you know?
relief.
Yeah.
No, it's not relief. It's a little. I've been suspicious for a while now. I mean, there's a reason why I didn't go to Italy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Ted, be honest, okay? Just between you, me, and the 15 people that we pay to watch this show, right? You got invited, and you just said not if he's not there, or not if he's there.
No,
you know?
I got invited, but not in a strong way.
I mean, like,
I got in a, hey, you want to go? Yeah, and then I never heard back.
hey, you want to go on a date? Kinda. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'll go find somebody else.
I was so busy with work that I didn't do enough following up on the emails and stuff. And you have to really, you know, especially if you're having Jason, our art rep, you know, handle certain things, you have to really like constantly be in communication with them, I think, you know. So, and kind of like let each other know, like, this is what, you know, I want to be doing and stuff. Otherwise you'll kind of fall through the cracks, I think, you know.
For sure.
You're not like that squeaky wheel. So I just been so busy on other stuff. So that's kind of why I was kind of like, well, I really wanted to go to Japan like a few years ago. When Mattteo and Jim went, was that the trip? Yeah. And it was before COVID.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and I was going to go, and I was like, I can psych myself out about traveling. And I did that.
Because you love flying, Tommy. I've never seen someone enjoy flying.
Yeah, listen,
as
can
much
we
as
talk
you.
about, just very briefly, not to embarrass you, but just as a point of reference of the quote unquote love of flying, can you tell me the story that you said when we met up in Seattle? And you were like,
it was you and Jim, right? Going to Chicago, that story?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah. Was that
the
one? I don't know. There's a lot of Tommy airplane stories.
Yeah. But it's the one where you're basically like talking to the lady next to you, like to the lady in front of you, because you had basically bear hugged her the chair, and you know the.
Oh yeah, that one. Well, it depends. There's a few.
Tell
you
us
might
a
be
few
thinking
then.
of one.
Tell us one.
One of them was a woman from the airlines, like I saw her working the tables, working whatever where you check in.
Okay.
Right.
The counter, the tables.
Just trying to tell this story is already giving you anxiety. You've forgotten all the terms for the.
She's like, anyway, so she, this lady who obviously works for the airline, and she's hitching a ride to back home or whatever, and she's got her, airplane uniform on, and I start to freak out. And when I start to freak out, like it's usually right when we're taking off. So, and then I need to talk to somebody. I need to, kind of distract myself. And so I asked her, I'm just like sweating and I'm gripping the seat and I'm looking out the window. And I turn to her and I'm like, hey, do you fly often?
And she's in uniform, right? She's in uniform.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah. And I just, also I was on Xanax, which makes it really bad because I'm brutally honest when I'm on the Xanax.
It's like your truth serum.
It was the worst. So I talked about everything from, my dog to to gun rights to to like whatever, right? So, but I had a connecting flight, and when I got to my next flight, I got to my seat, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Edwards, we've put you somewhere else," and they put me off in the back, like with nobody around me, and and it was like super obvious that she made a call, and she was like, "There's like a psycho," but sometimes it helps me if somebody's more scared of me, not scared of me. It's more scared of the flight. Sometimes I think they might be scared of me too.
You sound pretty scary.
Yeah, it was when they're like, what was it? Just recently, I was flying somewhere, and it might have been a Seattle trip, and there was this elderly woman sitting behind me, and as soon as we took off, and we kind of started to lift up, and the woman behind me just screamed like, "Holy fuck!" and she was maybe at least 80. And I was like, wow. And it made me feel so much better though, because I could put all my fear on somebody else. But I've made acquaintances, on the plane, I mean, I made a good friend actually on my way home from Seattle last time. I met this young lady sitting next to me. I did the same thing. I was like, "So, I'm scared shitless. How you doing?" And she sits up. She was like, had her head down on the table, and she sits up, pulls her earbuds out. She's like, "What?" And I'm like, and I could have just said, "Oh, nothing," but I kept at it. And she's like really cool. She's a dog groomer, and so like, of course, I talk about Una, my dog, and we had all this stuff in common. And she was flying a dog back home to Alaska to do a surgery and all this stuff. And she just sent me a video on how to shave Una's hair on her butt. So yeah, we're
you
like,
made a friend.
Yeah,
Tommy made a friend. That's
yeah,
awesome.
So, which is something that I do more and more. I used to not be like that, but for some reason,
I thought you hate
jokes
people.
About that. I don't. When I was younger, I was very, very introverted and very defensive. Let's say, I had a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you, Tommy. You're having meltdowns, or early stage flight meltdowns. How are you going to survive? It's just on the takeoff, right, and on the landing, right?
No, the landing's fine. The landing is weird. Even the woman from the airline, she said, "It's odd how okay you are now while we're landing." And I was like, "No, because I know it's almost over." There's something weird about like, oh man, like unless the pilot super sucks, like I think we're gonna be okay now, So
that's the
that's
okay.
So when we go to Japan, I'll be hoping that I can just be unconscious.
I was going to say, like, that's 14 hours easy.
How much Xanax are we talking? Because I've seen Tommy after a flight, after a few Xanax and a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
Well,
and usually I don't. The worst part about it is I don't.
Was you were groggy. I was like, what the heck is going on? I didn't realize, you were coming down from this flight. I mean, quite literally.
It won't be until the next day that, and then I'll talk about, like, we'll talk about something the next morning, and I sometimes won't completely remember it, which is kind of a scary thing.
Xanax does that to me too.
Yeah, I really don't like that feeling. That shit. Yeah. So if I could do it another way, I would try that. I want to talk to my doctor and see what's the maximum amount of Xanax and maybe Tylenol PM I can do.
I think your doctor's going to say you can't do those together. That's not a good I'm gonna combination.
Ask. I'll find out like how many hours.
Tommy's like, can you prescribe me a cocktail of pills?
Yeah. I'm already thinking about Michael Jackson and Prince, and I'm like, fuck, like.
Can you get me some fentanyl?
Yeah, I think
that'll do it. That'll get you to Japan, no problem. A little fentanyl, Tommy.
I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna have to. Yeah, I mean, but I'll watch a movie and I'll see some people sitting in the airplane in the movie, and I start to panic.
What's that?
So,
really?
Yeah, but if I do it more often, I get better at it. But it's so stupid. You know, I'm talking just a movie where they're sitting in an airplane like a normal passenger. It's not like a Air Force One, you know, with Harrison Ford or something. Like,
I don't think... happened when you saw Fight Club and the plane just ripped in half in midair?
I don't remember that. I was on Xanax.
He passed out. He passed out on the spot. He wasn't even in his seat. He was walking by some other guy who was watching it. He just fell over in the aisle. Had to drag him over to the back of the plane where nobody was sitting with him. What did Tommy? Wait, hold on, Shawn. You asked Tommy to come over, right? To come and hang out, but spend the better part of his morning not working on pages and not working on his cars, which we'll talk about. What did you want to talk to him about? You had an idea.
Did I want to talk to him about?
Yeah. You said, "Hey, Tommy, come on down. Let's talk about all these fears that you have."
Tommy's one of the gang, so I feel like when we all get together, it's just fun, and I just thought we'd have a good time. I had no agenda, Eric.
He has zero things to talk to you about. I want to know more about those cars. Sometimes it's good to have an
agenda, though. I mean, sometimes that's what I think when I watch your show.
There it is. Read between the fucking lines. Have something to talk about when you bring on your guests.
But Tommy, you can sometimes go too far. You can go too far sometimes, where I think that sometimes if you try and really like, okay, here's what we're going to ask, and you script it all out, and then it's just like,
fun.
Yeah. So
it's no fun. It's no fun.
But the reason I have this cool microphone and stuff is because we started a podcast through Atmos through my work, where we're going to start talking about, gaming and storytelling and all these kinds of things, just almost as a way to help build community, a little bit of marketing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but community, but also not only with the audience or potential audience, but with each other. I think it's kind of cool, like to have other people you work with, kind of like what we're doing, because we all, even though right now we're not currently working on any projects together, I feel like we still are work colleagues and work together, in a way.
Totally.
So I kind of feel like it's a little like that.
See, this podcast has just made us all kind of hate and loathe each other. So the community of us is just crumbling. So I don't know that I'd advise that. I'm just kidding.
I don't think so.
You're not here enough days. You know what I mean, Tom? You get the one. It's like a convention. You come in.
Can you see the disappointment on Eric's face?
You hang out a little bit. You grab a couple of drinks, maybe a great breakfast or something. But in a few days, you're going to get back on that plane, have a panic attack, but be home in a few hours, right? Mm-hmm. That's okay, right? I get to spend every week with these dum-dums. Every week, something like this will come up where I ask them a very sort of reasonable question. Hey, what do you have for our guest today, Shawn? He's like, I just wanted to have him come on. Like, you could have made that into a phone call. You could have called Tommy and he would have been totally fine talking to you. But instead, have him freaking ramp up his camera, ramp up his really great setup, and let's do it on a thing where Jamie has to kind of stitch this thing together to make it somewhat interesting. Jamie, I'm sorry ahead of time.
No, Jamie, you're kicking ass. Tommy, we have an editor now. I don't know if you've known this, but
I noticed the last couple episodes, especially.
Yep.
And
that's
then
it. It's just been the last two.
And even like I like that little promo like story thing you had about talking with Mattteo about how he doesn't shower and stuff,
that's our editor.
Yeah, I think that's great, man. I think that's fantastic. Yeah. I think
Jamie's
that's really cool.
Great.
Makes it fun and feels professional, and for once. And I think that like the stuff with but man, that is really true though. Everything that Mattteo was saying about how now he was saying the reason he doesn't want a studio outside of the house is because he'd have to get dressed and take a shower and blah blah blah.
Right.
But my I don't have pants on right now. Like, you wouldn't know that because unless you're my asshole nosy neighbor, that guy, you wouldn't know that, because like I'm not seeing anybody, I mean, Shawn, you've been here. That's all woods, you don't see neighbors or anything. So
I got to get up there. I need to take a trip up there and hang for a weekend.
That'd be awesome. Well,
He
you
just
know,
invited himself to your house, Tommy. He just said, "Hey, listen, I know you don't ask me to."
I've been at Tommy's house so many times.
I understand, but most of the time he invites you to come over. It's not just like randomly.
He never invites me. I just invite myself.
Yeah, no. I'm inviting you as well, Eric. Not your kids, but you can come.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's actually a great invitation. Thank you very much, Tommy. You just made me have you gave me hope for the future, dude.
That's the thing is I'm done with my kids now. I mean, not really, but they are 22 and 24, and I'm just like,
is Scarlett 22 now?
She just turned 22. Yeah.
Congratulations, pal. You kept somebody alive 22 years. Good job.
Yeah, no, thanks. Now it's up to them. But
you're kind of done. You're like a Vegas card. You're like a Vegas card dealer. You're just like, clap your hands like this. You're going on break. You're freaking done.
Well, yeah. Now I'm like, that room, like Scarlett's room, is now like, like I'm turning into like, maybe a cool room to hang out. I have all these dreams in my head of I want to have like a cowboy room.
Wait, what's a cowboy room? What's a cowboy room?
Yeah.
It's all Western. It's all Western stuff. It's all.
Do you have hats? Like as you enter, you have to put a hat and boots on.
And spats and
nothing else. Dude.
Yeah, but chaps. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, chaps and spurs.
I thought you meant like spats, like Uncle Scrooge, and just walking around with things on your feet. Yeah. Okay, wait, listen. Before you get down the cowboy room, Jesus Christ, can we talk about the thing that I was asking you about? What you have a multiple restoration projects, don't you? Like as far as cars are concerned.
Uh-huh.
You actually, your garage right now is the size of some small Colombian compounds, right? Like it's huge. It's beautiful.
No, it's not. It's not.
No,
yeah,
you don't make drugs?
Well, there's two garages.
Okay, fucking A, Tommy.
One is the one that I work at. One is the one I work at. That's owned by Diaz. And that's the one that
he's not fictional character. He's not a fictional character.
No,
he's a real person.
There's been an ongoing joke for 10 years or something about Diaz being not real. He's basically my
Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, he's my Harvey. So
it's just like that movie A Beautiful Mind where you just have multiple people in your life. You're like, that probably doesn't exist.
Right now, Tommy's in his studio talking to a mic. There's no one on the screen.
Oh man, dude, I just got a really bad feeling in my heart. Is that really happening? God.
Melissa's outside like, what is going on with him?
Yeah, the dogs are right now. We have Henry's dog too, Kaladin, and they're both looking at me through the glass. I won't let them in because I'm on the phone.
Listen, get back to the don't worry about
Henry's
the dog.
at the beach.
Jesus Christ, Shawn. Fucking A. Stuff that you could call Tommy about and just be like, hey, let's catch up and just blah, blah, blah. Where I'm doing my very best, in a way to talk about.
I'll get out of your way.
No, hold on, Mr. Inkpulp podcast. You're going to come back in. Let's talk about those cars. Why is it, Tommy, that you are so good at so many different things? First of all, Art, we're going to what's the car obsession about? Where's that come from?
That comes from me always wanting to do that stuff, always wanting to work on cars, always liking cars. Growing up in Detroit, everyone in my family, my dad, my grandpa, my uncles, my aunts, they all worked for, GM or Ford or Cadillac or, whoever. Everyone was an engineer or something in automotive industry. And I regret not. I liked old cars. I used to have when I was, like 19 or so. I had a 57 Oldsmobile Super 88, but I didn't know enough I didn't know how to take care of it enough by myself. Mm-hmm. And I always regretted that. My dad and I didn't get along, and I always kind of wished I had, kind of like, I feel like I for one reason or another, we never really connected in a kind of a missed bonding method, I guess you could say. He had a 52 Chevy pickup that I learned how to drive a stick on. So it was something I always wanted to do, and then work and life and everything, and then it's just something that kind of stays there, and then eventually, yeah, I don't know, like I guess it probably was about 10 years ago or something, I started getting more interested in it. I met this it's just so funny because like I met this guy
on a flight. Was he sitting next to you on a flight?
And there's always an empty seat next to Mr. Edwards, so he can put whoever he wants in his head in the seat,
in his mind.
But yeah, no, I just started becoming. I like where I live in North Carolina because I can talk to like people. Everybody, not everybody, but most people are very cool. It's the kind of place where people, you go to get gas in your car, you end up talking to the people at the gas station. You end up, everybody holds the door for each other. Everybody's kind of, like the guy that built my house 20 years ago also built my studio, which Melissa calls my workhouse. And then now he just finished building what Melissa calls my hobby house, which is my garage. So she's like, no more houses. But yesterday I had her come just stand there while I was hanging up some cabinets just in case I fell and couldn't get to my phone. and she was like, "You're just no excuse now for you to have any of your shit in the living house. Now you can have it all in your work or hobby house." And I'm like, "What shit? I don't have any shit, but whatever." So
I suspect that you guys are very different in regards to your definitions of your shit.
Yes. And I put up shelves that hang from the ceiling, and what's kind of cool is they hold 600 pounds. So I'm gonna, so sometimes I might sleep out there.
You're not 600 pounds. Tommy, do you find that getting away from your studio, whatever it is, whether it be digital or traditional, going into the garage and working a different portion of your brain, is that helpful to you? I've always been curious when I see pictures of that, and especially because you've developed that space, I think, just as diligently as you did your drawing studio. Yeah,
that is the thing is, and actually Melissa is very supportive of that because she knows sometimes you need someone, a loved one or a friend, to really point out like, you need to do this for yourself. You need, need, this is good for you. I can see the results from the outside, so she was noticing that it was like, especially with work. And sometimes, I mean, literally, especially doing comics and stuff, you can feel like you're sort of, especially if you're doing a long-term project, like something that takes you a year or, whatever. And you can start to feel, like you're stuck, kind of stagnant. You're not growing as fast as you'd like, stuff like that. And then sometimes you realize that, well, there's more to life than this too, which is hard for us to grasp when we're younger and starting out because you're so hungry and wanting to get better and you don't care about anything else. But the older I get and the more, you kind of like, and, we all three of us here and Mattteo, we all have kids, we're all like, you kind of like, as the years go on, you start to realize that there's more to life than trying to be really, really good at what you do. And it's not just being good at what we do because it's something that we're compelled to do, it's something that we're driven to do. And sometimes, especially like a few years ago, like I started to feel more and more like in a rut and I started to do more collaborative things. But then when COVID hit, and then I was working as production designer on a movie that died. And I had like, a few different animation projects I was working on, all these things that just didn't come together. And then I was working on Jupiter's Legacy and I felt like creatively I was pushing myself, but I still just, I don't know. And then, so the car stuff has been a really good, like if I miss a Saturday, it's only one day a week. And then, especially when I was doing comics, there was one time when I just took 2 weeks and just worked at the garage every day and like didn't do anything else. And that was like the best, man. And every day feeling like I learned a new thing. And every day I'm like, I'll struggle with something. And then Diaz, my imaginary friend, will show up and say, I have a tool for that. And it gets me out to, I mean, all on Saturday was so hot, and I was hunched over my car, and I had an exhaust leak, and so I had to replace these gaskets. Luckily, that's all it was. So, but that meant taking the intake and the exhaust manifolds off the engine and all this stuff. It wasn't that hard, but it was just because it was so hot, and I had to reach and do all these tiny little things, and my thumb bothers me a lot, and I was just like dripping. and every once in a while Diaz comes up and goes, "God, you're still working on that," you know? And then so we give each other shit just like we do. And but then Diaz's son was standing there, and he was like, "You're almost there, man, you're almost there." And I'm like, and then there's this old guy Pete that shows up all the time, you know. There's always like some old guy who comes and hangs out, and Pete's like, "So you do this for fun?" You know? And yeah, I'm just like covered in grease and dirt, and then something, obviously, you know, there's always something that goes wrong, and I'm like, "Hey, is this supposed to do this?" And that's why it's nice to have these guys that have done this, like Diaz, his whole life. And he and I are very similar. A lot of people think of Diaz as very grouchy. And he is, and he can be.
Really?
But it's sort of like if you imagine someone, like if I'm in my studio working, and if somebody's in your studio with you in your space, that can be tough. You go to grab a T-square, you go to you know, do whatever, and there's somebody there. There's somebody, you know, and I think I've understood that about him, and we have this, you know, interesting. He's in his mid 70s, so he's been doing this for 50 some years, you know, so he's got a lot of really amazing stuff to hand down. And in a way, it's sort of, maybe it's a little bit because I didn't, like I mentioned, not having some of that stuff with my dad, and kind of wanting to have like some sort of like a mentor kind of figure. It's great. I just love it. If I miss a Saturday, it throws off my whole week.
Really?
So yeah. I mean, and now, especially this past year, having this, like, you know, regular job where I'm on a salary for the first time in my life, and I have like, I work, you know, during the week, and I'm always on calls with people around the world doing this stuff and having meetings, and it's always kind of like, man, I never understood why people looked forward to the weekend before this. Because for us freelance, you're like, you know, every day is the same. You're like, I mean, maybe you have to go and carve out some time for yourself. You don't have an automatic like weekend, you know, if you don't work, you don't get paid. And so it's this. So it's been a pretty good year, like, for me, for having this little bit of a change of, you know, pay time off. Like, I didn't know what that word meant, PTO, until, you know, a year ago. I was like, what is that? You
get like paid vacations?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah. That kind of stuff is, you know, so I think it's that stuff, plus having the kids now kind of more or less kind of going off on their own. And that's kind of like now where I couldn't justify years ago when they're in ballet and all these things you got to do in school and all these things, that you can't justify stuff for yourself so much because you have other priorities. So it's really only in the past. So like in February, we started building the garage here at home, and that's the one I've been sending you pictures of, Eric. That's the one that
it looks good, man.
Yeah, it does.
Cool.
But I was always curious, and the reason why I brought it up is because anybody who's willing to go to that nth level of, like, it's not even presentation. I think I looked at it and I thought, like, that's a guy that's the reason why he's building up that space. Number one, it probably comes from a place like he's always wanted something like that, right? But also, it probably comes from a place of like, I'm going to be using this a lot, right? I'd better have the kind of space that would facilitate the best kind of outcome, which is, you know, I am impressed by any sort of like dedication to flooring. I think it's like really, really nobody thinks of it until you're out there going like, this floor sucks. You know, this is just like
your new hobby, Eric? Are you gonna
Dude,
start
you don't
flooring
know
houses?
how hard, like how incredibly grateful I was when my in-laws gifted us our garage and they put flooring in there. And I was like,
Oh,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much. And the lighting and all the scaffolding that puts all, like organization. And I think that's why when I saw you take pictures of that garage, I was like, Tommy's kind of arrived. Similar to when we took a tour out of Matteo's space, where I'm like, he knows he's going to be in here for a while. He knows it's going to be a place that not just represents, a place where he puts books down, because he could be any place like that, but he had that place custom built to match his ego, but also to be the space that he would like to be in when he's there for 8 to 10 hours at a time. So it's fascinating for me to see those kinds of spaces from different artists, I
mean, it's kind of like the room I'm in now. The studio is when we were we found our house while it was being framed up. It was being built, like kind of a neighborhood where houses were all really spread out. And I talked to the builder and was like, I really want a studio, separate, because the kids are little and I really wanted to go to work and leave and come back. And at the time, because our old house, we kind of ran out of space after both kids were born. I was renting a little office space in town, kind of like what Shawn does. That's where you are now, right, Shawn?
Yeah.
That's a fake backdrop, Tommy. That's actually just a giant. He got that off of a local Target was going out of business, and he just bought that from the Target photography studio. If he rolls that up right now, there's another one that happens to have. Yeah, and it has another backdrop, I think, of like the Laugh Factory, brick wall or whatever the hell it is, and another one
with a neon sign on it.
Oh my god! Now I want that. I want that so bad now.
And blurred out office window. But anyway, yeah. So you used to rent a space like Shawn's.
Yeah, and then having this space, this is great, because and I've got all my shit in here, just like, Melissa says, but you have to surround yourself with stuff that you really like and stuff that inspires you. And sometimes, with guys like us, when we have families and things, you can feel guilty about, I want to buy this Godzilla or whatever, and as I know we all feel that way. And, luckily when I have to remind myself, like, Melissa and I are both working, things are going well, and I have to remind myself it's okay to, like, do something like that. Luckily for now, especially as, make hay while the sun shines, and you kind of like, now's the time to, because I don't know if in a year if we'll be doing as well as we are now. So you have to kind of feel lucky about it and sort of,
that's true.
We've had extended conversations, I think in theme of the podcast, of like taking things into our own hands in as far as like the next steps for our career. And by no means are you in the sundown of yours. I think Mattteo is well past the sundown. Mr. Freeze really did a number on his future, but we'll see. He might be able to salvage
pre-sells every page now.
I think so. But I think, eventually enough art is going to be out there and it's all looking the same at this point. I don't know if you've seen any of the pages that he's producing, but I'm like, all right, I guess let's try that. We can't get any worse. But
I don't really know his work.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all right that you don't. You want to stay inspired as opposed to, getting the opposite of that.
I'm scared sometimes of, like, I feel this about most bad stuff. I'm scared it's going to enter my subconscious. Like, it'll be like,
make you bad.
Yeah. Or make it so that, like, somewhere deep down, I'll think this is an acceptable way to let a page be and let it go to print like that, Listen,
jokes aside, the pages that he's been working on for his own creator-owned project, holy crap, man.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
It's annoyingly good. We'll forward it to you without asking him permission first, but oh my gosh, it's so annoyingly good.
He didn't have the decency to show up for the show, so we can do what we want.
Yeah. We can pretty much beat him up
he
like
would
a punching
send it
bag.
to me if I owe him some. He bought a painting for me.
Mattteo just texted. He just texted. Fuck.
Yeah. That's how responsible he is.
Forgot to set the alarm, he said. I'm going to tell him to come in.
He's like
still
12
sleeping,
minutes.
and it's almost 5 o'clock there, almost 6 o'clock there, and he's still sleeping.
What a
He said he
freaking
was
idiot.
focused on working.
Focused on working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, so yeah, but sometimes
Dude, are you
I'm
the
going to be
guy that
writing.
steps away?
I'm going to be writing some comics now. Sorry.
That's what I was going to ask. Is like, are you in the space now where you're going to say, "Hey, I'm going to start doing my own stuff," not for a publisher, not for I mean, you're already effectively doing it for work, but ultimately it's still work related.
Yeah.
Is there a place now where you're going to be like, this is all Tommy Lee?
That's hopefully whatever the next comic is that I do, that will be all me, like writing and everything. Yeah. So no matter what, I have a few different things that I want to do. I just got to figure out, which one and
yeah, you've got some really fun projects you've talked to me that you want to do. As far as your writing, are you talking about writing your own stuff, or are you going to do some freelance writing?
Both. Well, I mean, the only stuff I've gotten, I wrote a couple comics, one Vandroid years ago and a G.I. Joe thing and a few like small things, but most of the writing I've done was more like for like film and animation stuff, the stuff I've gotten paid to do. So more screenplay stuff. And, like the show I sold to Fox, like I was writing these screenplays but I hadn't really done much of it in comics. So I think, I got contacted recently to do some stuff for something that's very specific. Some artwork for something, but I don't know. They just announced they're going to be doing this, but they haven't announced who's going to be doing it. But I'll just go ahead and tell you.
This won't be out for like a month, or 2 months maybe. This.
Oh, then I think we're good. They just announced it. Mad Cave, where Mark Irwin works. They just got the license for Gotcha Man.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So I'm writing that shit.
No, are you really?
There's going to be 3 of us writing it. So, we're basically planning out 2 years worth of content. And
no, Tommy, let me work with you.
I'll
draw everything that you write.
No, you won't.
There's no way you have the time for that.
Here's the thing. I love Gotcha Man. It's what I grew up on, right? And
that's all of us this age. Yeah.
Dude, I've just wanted to have something to do, especially when they re-released it in 95. I lost my freaking mind when they redesigned all that stuff, And
so what we are doing is the original Gotcha Man, from the early to mid 70s.
Yeah, with the thigh-high boots.
Yeah, it's all almost to the point where you could watch the show and read our comics and they'd still be in the same world.
Dude, that's freaking awesome.
Nice.
So it's not, it's sort of, I saw it as a little bit of like my way to do, much I love, Kamen Rider, and I love the Shin Kamen Rider that Hideki Anno did. And I love that where people get to go and revisit their, like Shin Ultraman, that he did the same thing with that script, something that he grew up with, and going back and, those they've taken and put them in modern day and kind of redid them in a new setting. This we're kind of staying in that sort of,
that's fascinating,
weird 70s world that, so, but it's all early stages, but obviously, my goal is to try and talk to guys like yourselves and say, okay, what could you fit in? Could you do a one shot? Could you do a miniseries? Could you do a short story? At the very least, some covers, like something like that. So that's the kind of thing I think would be, fun. And of course, that's where my brain starts going too, is like, we really want to collaborate with people and make
fun.
A cool story. So
I love Gotcha Man.
And the other 2 writers, just to be safe, maybe I'll not give away anything else, but we've had a couple meetings and we go through, like, it's like a good old fashioned writer's room. We figure out, make sure we're all kind of on the same page. There's going to be different books focusing on different things. Some are going to be new characters. Some's going to be, so it's pretty cool.
Do those writers
like
know Gotcha Man? In as much as, your love and affinity for it, do they have an understanding of that version?
That's the thing that I have to give props to the people at Mad Cave, because I didn't know these guys. I know of them. They're professionals and they have good track records. But I don't know them. They don't know me. I think we all know each other's work, sort of, but it's easier sometimes to know an artist because they can just look at and see my work. And I think I've probably been doing stuff longer than them. So they probably know me but I don't think they knew that I was a writer. And probably a lot of people don't know that. So I think, but this was my way of saying, this is something I'm very passionate about, and I really want to do this. And then I basically hustled and pitched myself as somebody who would be the best person for this job.
That's great.
So
Congratulations,
I'm really
pal.
excited.
I'm excited. I'm saying this in true earnest. When the time comes when you're like, hey, I'm ready to pull the trigger and having these conversations, please keep me in the mix.
I just emailed them about that last night. So we're waiting to hear back from, the studio in Japan that we're licensing it from. So,
right.
So there's a lot of all that kind of, you send them like, here's what we'd like to do. They come back with some notes and then, but for the most part so far, they're really inviting a lot of cool freedom.
I got to let in the guy who's super late. We're about 10 minutes away from signing out. No, we're almost done. He's going to get 5. Let's give him his shine for 5 minutes. Here we go.
Oh, it's not even working.
Yo, you hear me?
I'm looking for my off. How do I sign off?
Mattteo!
Yo, do you guys hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you just fine.
Is this the new computer? Is that what this is?
No. This is still the old one. I gotta, gotta take some time to, set it up and everything.
You're removing crust out of your eye like you were sleeping, not really, focused on work like you said. It sounds like you just fell asleep in the middle of the afternoon.
No. I literally just finished working. I don't know why, but it didn't insert the whole thing in my calendar. So today when I checked, I completely forgot to, set up the alarm and everything. So I literally just saw
the way Tommy
link.
says it. It's because you're intimidated by his overall glow. I think, just the idea. Like there's a reason why you disinvited him from going to Italy. There's a reason why you're almost near the end of the show. Not showing up.
I didn't want him to find out this way, but that's what it is. Probably it's better this way because he's away from me, so it's not able to harm me in any way. So I just fucking hate you, Tommy. I just don't like you.
Cool. I'm glad you can finally be honest.
I don't like your voice. I don't like your voice. You're too fat, honestly.
My big head. My big head.
Yeah. Your head is too big. It's just I don't like it.
Can I say something interesting, Tommy? There's a couple of people who have behind the scenes reached out, professionals in the comic book industry, saying, "Hey, I've been watching the show and it's freaking great. I hope you guys keep up all the good work." And I think it's a way for them to kind of in between the lines. You have to read it like, "Hey, if you ever have time, give me a." Hey, is there any way that I can come on and chit chat or whatever? That feels really good. It's super complimentary, but it's clear that they watch the episodes, right? Wait until they get this one and where Mattteo proceeds for the next 2 or 3 minutes, just berate the fuck out of you and your big head and doesn't like the way you look, the sound of your voice.
It's going to become a thing.
It's going to be what?
People, it's going to become a thing. Like people will come on just to get insulted by me. There's a restaurant. It was a famous restaurant in Rome called La Parolaccia, basically the swear word. So you basically enter, and the first, since you enter, they start insulting you like really badly, like call
That's
your
like Dick's Last Resort.
Call your partner a hoe and everything. So
I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that.
He doesn't like that now, Mattteo, is what he's trying to say, but you did it anyway.
I think my feelings would be hurt quite badly.
Wait, Mattteo, is this place in Naples? Is that what you're saying? This is a Naples restaurant?
No, it's I think in Rome. No, it's in Rome. It's in Rome.
Do you
But they
remember
probably
that,
have one in
Key
Naples
and-
as well.
The Key and Peele episode where there's the insult comic on the Key and Peele one. Did you guys see that one? Where and there's that one guy sitting in the audience and he's got burns all over himself and everything, and the insult comic kind of keeps skipping him, and he's like, and he has to talk with one of those things, and he's like, do me, and he finally does it. It's so messed up. He finally does it, and the guy's like. And he starts crying, and he's like, and he's like, hey, you told me to just go at it. He goes, I thought I could take it and everything. And the tears are stinging his burns and stuff.
This is that episode. Mattteo sleeps through the scheduled time, comes in for the last 5 minutes. And then starts insulting you, and you're like, "I thought I could take him," and
then I'm leaving earlier. Like I'm not even closing the episode, just insults, and then
and then you're gonna go. Tommy, we are at
Matteo's become a segment of the show now.
We are at the hour mark.
Previously, it was poop talk, and now it's just insult talk, and that's it.
Matteo, the insult comic.
Trash talk.
I'm trying to gracefully get you out of here, Tommy. I'm really gracefully trying to get you out of here with as much dignity as possible.
No,
but I'm gonna hit the stop button now. Tommy, thank you for swinging by. Shawn,
thank you,
always
Tommy.
Thank you for
thank you.
Thank you for having
welcome,
the target
guys,
backdrop.
for this pearl later dropped. The 5 minutes.
Yeah. I don't think a pearl is what I would consider that's just dropped in the last 5 minutes. Yeah. All right, Mattteo, you need to stick around because your spaghetti internet is going to hold everything up. So you got about another 45 minutes. You got to keep that tab open.
Matteo, did your new computer come with new noodles to hook up the internet, or is it the high fiber kind?
The fettuccine Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
fettuccine Wi-Fi. All right, that's it. I'm going to hit the stop button. Bye.
This is the Inkpulp podcast. This is the Inkpulp podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.
Yo, the price of games rise up, standard price, the loss of legs. My occupation, in essence, not complacent. Block the banquet, stop the computation. I'ma make the coda, fools just wanna make the quota. They can't rock around here, they need baking soda. This a hydra, no way they taking over. Lay them below the basement with snakes and cobras.